Pay no attention to that trailer here. I'm storing it. It's a portable classroom, and I'm just storing here temporarily until classes start back up again. But I want to talk about this raised bed. This is the round galvanized one I made, and it was round when I made it. I put my T-posts all around it, and I used it for onions and stuff like that. Well, I decided I wanted something right here that's between this bed and the greenhouse, and this was, if I had left it round, it would, of course, wouldn't give me enough space to go by. So the beauty of it is that when it's like this, I can empty it out, and you can pretty much make it any shape that you want. So this is going to be a new potato bed. So before I plant the potatoes in here, I cut them up, and let me show you how I did that. Now I've got some here that I've already cut up. And I use the same ones every year. These came out of my garden last year, and they've been growing in the garden for the last 5 years or so. And a lot of people will say, well, don't use the same ones over and over. Make sure that you buy fresh seed potato every year. But you know what? I've never had a problem. I mean, they just keep on growing, which is weird because I'm Irish, and so I should have that Irish potato famine hex or something put on me, but I don't. So, but if you are worried about it, or you want to grow new ones every year, you can always just buy some seed potatoes. But these, of course, came out of my garden last year, and they've got some really substantial eyes over the winter. So let me bring you in and show you how I cut these up. Okay, so you'll notice this one here, it has two eyes. Well, there's a set of eyes right here and right here. I could go down the center here like this, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to go ahead and cut both of those off, and that gives me one planting potato right there. Now, you've got this one here. You'll notice I've got three. Okay, so what you want to do is always try to leave about 1.5 inches or so around, or in diameter as far as the eyes go. So what I'll do is I'll take this and I'll go right in half like that, and that leaves me a substantial amount. So I'll just go ahead and plant that one. Now I could take this one, I could cut this right down the center. That'll leave me quite a bit of flesh for energy, but I don't, I'm not going to. I could just cut it like that, and I would have another, I'd have two planting potatoes, but it's not that big of a deal. Now you get them like this, and this has just eyes on the end. Now it's got a little one right here. I don't usually consider that a planting eye, so I'm going to take this and just cut it like this, and that gives me plenty right there for planting. And you could take that one, and then I can cook that up and eat it. There's just no sense of leaving that much into the ground for it to just rot. It makes no sense. So I don't do that. And then I've got this one here. I cut the end off of it because there was nothing here. And now this one I can get 3 out of. If I go across like this, diagonal, I've got one there. And then I can go across this here, and that gives me quite a bit of flesh here for that. So that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planting potatoes, right? 7, like that. So it's just, it's not that big of a deal on how you do it. You just kind of want to, leave enough around it, like 1.5 inches or so. That's what I always go by. But you could plant them whole. You could take a potato and not even worry about it. Take the whole potato like that and throw it in, and it'll grow just fine. The reason why I split it up is because in the past when I've done that and I've thrown them in, and they grow with no problem at all. But what it does is it centralizes the plant, the root system. They'll grow out like this, and they'll produce potatoes, but they're kind of centralized in an area. When I break them up like this and grow them, I can plant them separately, give them more room, and then they've got more room to grow. And so when they spread out like that, I think the potatoes are bigger. That's my opinion. But I don't really have any science to back that up. It's just kind of been experience. So now I've got all of these like this, and then what I do is I always let them sit for a day or two and let the skin kind of harden up a little bit. Like these here have already been hardened up. They've been here for 2 days in the greenhouse. So I always plant my potatoes in March. This is the middle of March, and this is the time that I get them in. But you want to just get them in as soon as the ground can be worked. And anytime, February, March, whenever, you get them in early because they need a long time to produce and mature. So now I've even planted them before. We took a trip. I think, I don't remember where we went. I didn't get back here in time, and I didn't get them planted till April. And you know what? I still had beautiful potatoes in August, September. So it's not that big of a deal, but it's always wise to get them in as soon as you can. So when I plant these, I always get them down in the ground about 2 inches or so, because they're still going to kind of push up, you know, and you're going to have to mound them up because they're going to be exposed to the sun. So it's good just to plant them deep, plant them 2 inches or so, even 3 inches, and just keep an eye on them. And when you see them start to poke up through the ground, cover them back up, you know, mound them back up, and don't let the sun hit these, because it'll turn them green, and then they just won't be edible. So, well, they'll be edible, but, you know, and some people say, well, you get sick, you could die from it. I don't know. But, so this is easy peasy. Now I've got all different kinds here. I've got, I think I got Yukon Gold. I've just got, you know, regular yellow. I got some reds here and regular. So I just mix them all up. I don't care. So I just take them in the ground like this, and I just push them in 2 to 3 inches. And I don't cover them up yet because I want to kind of keep an eye on where they're at. And away we go. Easiest thing on the planet. I mean, potatoes are like, if you can't grow anything else, you can grow 2 things. You can grow walking onions and you can grow potatoes. Okay, so that takes care of these. And I've got another spot for the rest of these. Now, I've got them placed about, you know, 6 to 8 inches apart. And that's fine because they're all going to spread. They're going to actually go to the edges of this bed, and then they're going to stop, and then they're going to circle around. So this whole bed should be completely full come harvest time. And then I'm just going to cover them up like that. And then I'm going to water them really well. And that is all there is to planting potatoes. Now, as far as depth of bed, potatoes are fairly shallow rooted. They'll grow in like 12 inches. But I always try to make sure that I plant my potatoes in at least 18 inches of soil. So about 1.5 feet. This bed here is 28 inches or so. So there's plenty of room for them to grow. I know it's overkill on depth, but they won't be planted here next year. I'm going to plant something else here next year. I do try to rotate my potatoes. The only thing you really have to do with them is to make sure that the potatoes don't come up, poke through the soil, and then get exposed to the sun. Other than that, they're one of the easiest plants to grow. So that's all there is to growing potatoes in raised beds. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you later.